I've been an Ableton user since Ableton 11. That's when I came into it. Around that time, Push 2 is still out. Been out for a while. I like the idea of it. I went into a store. It was one they're used. I tried it. Thought this is pretty cool, but it does slow my workflow down. So I didn't buy it, even though it was pretty affordable at that time. Waited some time, and then all of a sudden, Push 3 drops. Was pumped that it was standalone. However, after further investigation, realizing it didn't have like a 2-hour battery, and it was like an Intel 3 processor, which I'm like, what? And it was $2,000. And I'm like, nope. So, hence to say, I didn't even mess with it as a controller because I was thinking $1,000 for a controller. And then the max it can hold on time is like 2 hours. Nah. So then we hear an announcement that something else is coming out, and it's called Move. Didn't know exactly what it was going to be, but now we do, and this is it. So I just wanted to give my take on it. I made a video previously regarding my thoughts of what I would like it to be, or I was hoping. And some things are pretty good, but for the most part, I'm not too excited anymore. For one, the screen is too dang small. So it doesn't appeal to me as a standalone device. But that isn't the killer. I think the biggest thing for me was 4 tracks. I love the OP1 field, thought it was cool. The sequencers in it weren't as good as I was hoping. I thought they were going to update that thing, so I never kept it. My dog. Hey, it's okay. She's either barking at the next door neighbor's dog or something to that effect. But anyway, so 1 second. Hopefully she won't continue, but I can't promise that. Okay, so when I looked at it at first, I was like, okay, cool. It looks like half of a Push 3. And I think it's way smaller if I'm not mistaken. Because you can see it doesn't have the touch strips like a Push 3 would have. The knob is a lot smaller. But I was hoping that they would have made the pad smaller and maybe put the screen along the top, kind of like the Push 3, so that we could get the ability to look at the sample and have the simpler in it, as well as have the warp markers and things of that nature. Nope. They based this off of the Ableton Note, which is the app that works on the iPhone and the iPad. And I do not like that app. So for me, part of the reason I don't like the app is because I'm not really into the Ableton synths. I don't really care for them. They're okay, but nothing I use in my music. And the sampler, or the simpler, I should say, I do use. And it's nice that you can sample in here. I think that's one of the best parts of it. The drum rack is cool that they put it in here. It's nice to have the transport bars and everything right here on there. I hate that they did these recessed type buttons. But it is what it is. I do like that they put a track sequencer at the bottom here, which is kind of nice to be able to go through and sequence your patterns or whatever you want to do. And they have a nudge feature on there. I do know it's 64 gigs internal memory, but you can't add to that, nor can you, the other thing, I was gonna say, there's no SD card slots. So the 64, I think 14 of those gigs is the actual internal system and what it holds in there. So the other 50, you have access to save your stuff, like samples and sounds, etc. It does work as a controller for your computer for Ableton, but you can also use it for the note, I've heard, which is kind of great. Those are the features that stand out probably the most with regards to it. If I ever decide to get it, and I'm not going to get it right now, it would have to be on sale. It's $450 at the start point right now. And I think it's a bit high for what I want from it or what I would use it for, which is mostly a controller. I think the standalone thing is a great idea, but it's not where I would want it to be. Like, for instance, there's no time stretch. How do you not have time stretch with a sampler? That just doesn't make sense. There's no warp markers, so you can't be warping anything. When you chop with it, I think you record through the audio input, not the USB-C. And maybe you can record through the USB-C. I can't remember that part. But everything I've seen them do is recording through a 3.5 millimeter audio input. And so you're basically recording in, and then, one second. Okay, so you're recording in, and then you're chopping as you listen to the sound play through. And I guess it locks that sample, and then you can adjust the sample. They do show the wave on the actual screen here, which is kind of nice. At first I thought they didn't do that, but then I saw a video where they show it. I think it was, well, these are playing instruments getting started. There's one video where they do the sample chopping thing. Anyway, if you can watch it, it's on their Ableton YouTube channel. And so that particular video was interesting and kind of made me interested in it a little bit. But again, it's $450. So $450, you could get an MPC-1 used. $450, you could pretty much, you're right there at getting a SP404. What else? And there's a few other things out there that are a little bit cheaper. I know that new Roland P6 sampler, though it's not on this level, I don't think, is about $200. So there's other options. And if you're not an Ableton user, personally, I would not tell you to get this if you're not into Ableton, or at least Ableton Note. If you use Ableton Note or Ableton Live, then this is probably for you. If not, I wouldn't suggest getting it because its primary function is going to be a controller. You're going to end up using it as a controller more often than not. I don't see people finishing music in here, and I'm only speaking for myself, even though I say people. I don't see myself for sure finishing any music in here. I think this is a starter, kind of like what Ableton Note is. You create a little riff or whatever, and then you send it over to Ableton to get into it and finish it. That's kind of how they've advertised it. So yes, it's portable. Yes, it's standalone. But keep those things in mind that I said, because those are crucial points if you're going to spend basically $450 for this. And the limitation of 4 tracks. Now, I've heard that you can put about 4 minutes per pad. So let's say there's 16 right here, because it'll be 16 in one track, right? So I've heard you can put up to 4 minutes of a sample, I think, on each pad. So you think about what that is, it equates to. So there's some value in it if you want it. For me, if I ever see it around $300, I'd be all in. Anything more than that, I probably just wouldn't mess with it. Most of the work that I do in Ableton, I can do it faster with a mouse and a QWERTY keyboard. So I'm not a drummer, and just to trigger pads, I can do that easily. Now I have the MPC key 37, and I find it more useful than most of the Ableton stuff that I've seen or tried. Even the keyboards, I'm not really into their keyboards, but I do like this MPC Key 37. So I don't know, but I love Ableton, so don't get that twisted. All right. Well, that's it for this video. Now that we know it's out, there's a headphone jack on here. There's a mic on here. There's a speaker on there. I don't know how well they work or how great they are. That would be something that you would have to buy and try. But I will say, currently, I think it's only on Sweetwater that I know of, and you can buy it through Ableton's website. So there's your options, and that's where we end this video. All right, have a great day. Hope all is well. I know a lot of people dealing with various weather conditions around the southern states. Hope you guys are staying safe. And until the next one, I'm out.